Oh hey, it's October, and in the spirit of things that are spooky, I'm gonna tell you that I'm really afraid of liminal spaces. Hello, my name is Eve. Welcome back to my channel. I like to talk about pop culture with my only credential being that I got an A in my media studies A-level. It's crazy now because I have 2 subscribers. One thing that really bothers me is the way that TikTok will take a word, add it to their vocabulary, and then just give it a completely different meaning. The definition of so many phrases have just become total brain rot. I think you would find it incredibly hard to find somebody, at least one person who regularly uses the word gaslighting, who can also give an accurate definition of what that word really means. I'm not quite sure why this happens. Oversaturation of a singular phrase is bound to give the word alternate meanings, especially if it's being used amongst young people in their respective internet echo chambers. Some of the terms that have suffered from this effect are uncanny valley and liminal spaces. I'm doing the Shane Dawson thing on accident.
Hey, what's up you guys? Yes.
The backrooms is a good example to look at. A concept that could be first found in a 2019 4chan thread for disquieting images that just feel off has now become the first thing a lot of people think about when we discuss liminality. This is not inherently wrong. The reason the horror of the backrooms is so poignant is because it does such a good job of encapsulating that feeling of unsafety that we're hardwired to react to when something just doesn't feel quite right. This ties in with the hypothesized psychological defense we have to things that don't look exactly human, and this is what we call the uncanny valley. This is a concept that absolutely does keep me up at night. For years I thought I had God, what is that word for people who have phobias of dummies and mannequins? I thought it was that. It's not. It's just very normal, actually. The first time I ever recall experiencing this horror was as an 11-year-old. My family and I were moving from Wales to Cyprus. With my dad being a soldier, naturally we took our flight from Brize Norton. I am so sorry to anybody who has been to Brize Norton, especially those people who have got no interest in military history. That are just kind of there because they have to be there, because that was me. I'm sure if I was some kind of historian I'd absolutely love my time there, but for me it was balls. I was terrified. But trust me when I say that place truly haunts my nightmares. The corridors were long, wide and desolate, windowless, with blue carpet and yellow fluorescent lighting. There was a singular vending machine, a 90s Coca-Cola branded machine with images of young people looking unnecessarily happy plastered on it. I still remember it very vividly to this day, as the whole experience made me feel like I needed to scrub off my skin. And as a side note, whilst researching for this, I found the exact machine that I was talking about, and it's exactly how I remember it being from 10 years ago. You can't tell me that this is not absolutely terrifying. Why does he look so threatening? Why does he look like that? What are you smiling about? There's nothing that can make you that happy about Coca-Cola. Definitely laced with something, do you know what I mean? So like I said, I always had a very significant fear of things like this, and my earliest childhood fear was Crazy Frog. I could not express why this blue thing with its schlong hanging out paralysed me so much with fear. But looking back, I suppose it would have something to do with the liminal space in which he existed, perhaps on top of the fact that he looks nothing like a frog. At the risk of this sounding like a Crazy Frog lore video, I wish to note a few things, because as I've grown older I've come to learn that I am not the only one who found that little scrote absolutely terrifying. Jamba, the ringtone company that owned the property, made it absolutely certain that you could not channel surf without seeing their beloved little fucking mutant on your screen.
Ding 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 ding. Go
crazy and get the Crazy Frog as a ringtone on your mobile now. For just £3 you can choose up to 5 ringtones a week from just 60p per tone. Check Frog 13 for the mono, Frog 14 for the poly, or Frog 15 for the crazy real sounds to 88888.
In the early 2000s, he was completely unavoidable. Imagine being scared of something that you can't... Anyways. Sources report that the advertisement for the ringtone was appearing on their televisions up to 2 times an hour, with some channels playing the advertisement more than twice in an ad break. In the advertisement was just a lone frog in a weirdly empty blue setting. This is quite similar to the Disney princess phenomenon called the pink void, which was first acknowledged by TikTok user Babidi Kate. They're not standing on anything. They aren't anywhere. They're just in a void. This is a true example of liminality because neither the princesses or the frogs seem to be anywhere in particular. And obviously both brands share a demographic of children, so the untapped potential of liminal horror is not explored. In fact, liminality is not inherently scary at all, and it can define some very beautiful things. Actually, the Oxford English Dictionary defines liminality and liminal spaces as occupying a position at or on both sides of a boundary threshold. So this could be where the sand meets the sea or where the day meets the night. And many works of literature explore this concept. An easy passage is a poem written by Julia Copus, and that explores the liminality, the liminal space between girlhood and womanhood, and that's one of my favourite poems. But I'm not here to yap about the beauty in transience or nature. The boundary we're placed in when we feel the sense of horror is the space between safety and unsafety. If I were to find myself in a place looking like this, my fear response would be so much greater than if I were to find myself in a place looking like this. This is down to all of the variables. Is there a way out? Why am I here? How much time do I have? Am I alone? Am I overthinking this? And when you couple this with the uncanny valley, it becomes a physical manifestation of psychological horror, which many pieces of media try to achieve, but they largely fail. My English teacher once explained to me the difference between horror and terror. It was whenever we were studying Frankenstein. She explained that horror is knowing that what you're seeing shouldn't be happening, and all of the feelings that surround that. Disgust, contempt, sometimes guilt, things like that. Terror, on the other hand, is being utterly afraid of what is happening, being frightened, and being frightened at the suggestion of what might be happening. I would like to say that I am like a fan of scary films, but my tastes are quite limited in variety. They're quite basic. You won't find anything interesting on my letterboxd, but I think that the liminality between horror and terror is what I perceive to be the perfect balance in any good, scary piece of media. I think Us by Jordan Peele does this very well. I think Midsommar and Hereditary also do this very well. Yet, I find that the most truly scary artworks can be found right here on this very platform, YouTube. In fact, I am so afraid of the many charming videos on the space of the internet that I cannot bring myself to list them. And I'm not even talking about the objectively gory, horrible things like shit that you'd find on Live Leak. I'm talking about things that are on the surface level internet that you can't really explain why they're so scary. They just make you feel so uncomfortable. For me, this is a personally poor example, but I want to talk about I'm Poppy or That Poppy.
Do you ever wish you could just restart? Everything's gonna be okay. Don't worry about it, you're gonna be fine. I think everything's gonna be okay.
The reason that I call this a poor example is because this effect of horror in liminality paired with the uncanny valley didn't actually frighten me on this occasion. I saw pink, blonde, heard pop music, and saw the weird girl vibes. I saw the vision, and I was way too invested in the Titanic Sinclair lore to truly be as rattled by her internet presence as it seemed most people were. Her blank stare into the camera, as well as her robot voice, and the way that there was never really anything surrounding her, caused a lot of people to feel deeply unsettled. Her channel is something that I would allow to fall into the category of videos such as I Feel Fantastic, or whatever that dinner table one was. I hated that. My friend Tommy showed me that last year, and oh my god, that was the spawn of Satan. Even the source of these videos ties into the horror. To stumble upon a video like that with little to no concept adds a layer to the perceived threat. And I think possibly in Michigan is completely terrifying based on that factor alone. On some occasions, actually knowing the context doesn't even make it any less frightening. It just sometimes poses more questions that cannot be answered. Like, who thought of this? Do they know how utterly terrifying they just made this ice cream commercial? And I'd like to end this video by stating that there is nothing scarier to me than this concept. I can watch any amount of Hollywood budget horror films, and they just don't do it quite like the internet does. Whether we're talking about creepypastas, PSAs, art projects, lost media, or archives, there is an insane amount of respect to be given to creators who hit the nail on the head. So I hope you enjoyed watching me talk about what scares me and why it scares me. If anything, this was kind of therapeutic. I will see you next time. Thank you for watching.